On today's episode, I share what our hedonic baselines are, how to make joy and happiness last longer, and why setting goals and achieving them doesn't result in long-lasting happiness. Let's dive in. Hello. I thought I would start today's podcast off with a little singing, and I know what you're thinking. How have I not made a career out of this? I know. It's truly a travesty. Something I have to live with every day. In any event, hello and welcome to Live Mindfully with Laurie Moore. It is my great pleasure to join you today, as I do every week, to invite all of us to slow down, take a deep breath, and appreciate the beauty that surrounds us. And so in lieu of that, I want to invite us all right now in this very minute to, no matter where you are, to begin to feel into the body. Connect with your body. Notice how you are feeling right now in this moment. If your shoulders are lifted, begin to drop them down and away from the ears. And at the same time, begin to draw your chin back and down a fraction. We have a tendency to jut our chins forward. In fact, up to 90% of the population do this. And I believe it is because our culture is always in this space of what's ahead and moving forward and not living in the present moment. We're always living and thinking about the future. And another line of thought that I have is that our head is leading our bodies and not our hearts. And the thing is, to be in correct alignment, our chest should be in front of our chin. So draw that head back, draw the chin back and down just a fraction, and then think about that as you move through your day today. Is your chin jutting forward? Is it ahead of your chest and out of alignment with your spine? And now begin to lift through the spine. Imagine little pockets of space between each of the vertebrae. And finally, take your focus to your breath. And begin to notice the rise and fall of the chest. The rise and fall of the chest. And on the next exhalation, if you can, sigh it out. Good. And try to keep that postural alignment as you move through your day. So today's podcast is really about this idea that we live in the future. And this is something that I've been working on a lot this year, shifting my focus from the outcome, from the goal to the journey, to the spaces in between. Because here's the thing. We are so fixated on our goals. We love goal setting and we work so hard to achieve our goals. And then what? We spend about a day, maybe less, celebrating that achievement. And that's if we bother to celebrate it at all. And then that feeling of elation, that feeling of achievement, that dopamine hit leaves the body. And we move back to what is known as our hedonic baseline. And if you haven't heard of that term before, it's a theory that we all have our own individual baseline of happiness in our lives. And no matter how good or how bad things are going, we will return to that baseline no matter what. So if you live your life to the design of goal setting and constantly achieving, it could be said that you are hedonistic, meaning you are constantly engaged in the pursuit of pleasure. And let me just say, there is nothing wrong per se with pursuing happiness as an ideology. However, the research says that people like this tend to put themselves before others and they tend to neglect their responsibilities. But the most important thing, if you're starting to sort of maybe think to yourself, hey, I think that sounds a little bit like me, they aren't actually happier. They have these big hits of dopamine and then they fall into these lulls where they're like, oh, I just don't feel like my life is moving anywhere. I feel really stagnant and I need to set another goal. I need to fixate on something. And I believe that it is because of this fixation, and this is true for many of us, even if we don't self-identify here as a hedonistic person, we are so focused on the outcome, on the goal, on the achievement. That's a very Western way of thinking, that we bypass the most important part of life, which is the journey. And I was teaching this morning and it was a theme we explored in the yoga class. And in this class, we didn't fixate on the poses. I wanted everyone to focus on the transition between the poses. In fact, I didn't even tell people what the poses were. We worked our way into the poses without me using maybe sometimes more regular terminology like now we're going to do cat pose and we're going to move into cat pose like this. I didn't say that this time. The goal was not to move into the pose as quickly as we could and then hold the pose. The focus was on the movement into each pose and the movement out of each pose. It was a very fluid class, and I can't tell you how much positive feedback I received from that class. And it's because there is so much pleasure to be found in the spaces in between. And if we spent more time focused on that, more time focused on the journey toward the achievement, on the transitions from one step to the next, and not on getting it all done as quickly as possible or reaching that quote unquote end goal, life would be so much more enjoyable. So that is this week's task. Shift your focus from the goal, from the outcome, from the achievement, to the spaces in between, to enjoying the journey, the transition. Because joy is not found in achieving, in arriving, in finishing. Joy is found in the doing. Joy is found in the movement in between. Joy is found in the journey, because that is where you are adding real value, real happiness to your life. So if you are someone who wants to be happy and you set a lot of goals but don't really feel like you have a lot of joy in your life, or maybe more so, the joy really ebbs and flows, try shifting your focus. And if you feel like you have already shifted out of your alignment in your body, let's bring the head back, chin slightly down, lift through the spine one last final time. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am taking the next 2 weeks off, so there will be no new podcasts for the next 2 weeks, or no new episodes, I should say. This will give you a chance to catch up or re-listen, and this will gift me a much needed break to practice what I preach during the September school holidays. For all the mums and dads out there, have a great 2 weeks off with your kids and enjoy breaking free from the routine. I know I will be. For everyone, have an amazing 2 weeks, and I'll be back before you know it with some more great content. I might even practice my singing. Until then, take extra good care of yourself.